Welcome to Alabama Manufacturing Now, hosted by Alabama Technology Network, a podcast where we cover a wide array of challenges, solutions, and innovations for manufacturers. We're your host, Whitney Barlow, Supplier Development Manager. And I'm Paige Caulfield, Marketing and PR Manager.
Hello and welcome back to Alabama Manufacturing Now. We're excited to have today Sarah Mills Carter. Sarah, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. And we're just going to jump right in. Sarah, tell us who you work for and what your role is.
I work for AIDT, which is the Alabama Industrial Development Training Division of the Alabama Department of Commerce. And my role is Regional Workforce Council Liaison. So I'm a connector to our regional workforce councils and connecting them and our Department of Commerce and state level resources out to our business and industries from a state level.
Okay, so explain to us Alabama Works and the regions that they have and a little bit of that history.
Okay, so Alabama Works is, I call it the brand of the Alabama workforce system. The brand was created in 2015 when the legislature redesigned our workforce regions, and we originally had 10 workforce regions, and they condensed us down to 7 based off of commuter patterns and things like that, where people actually go to work and where businesses find their employees. And so the purpose of the regional workforce councils and Alabama Works, which that houses, it gets confusing for a lot of people because Alabama Works houses the Alabama Department of Labor. It includes the Alabama Department of Commerce. It includes our regional workforce councils. It includes oftentimes many of our partners, and you'll hear a variety of people identify themselves as Alabama Works. And oftentimes people go, well, which is which? Mm-hmm. Well, we all work together to help build and train the workforce. And so the regional workforce councils were also created as a part of that brand in 2015 to serve business and industry, to make sure that our businesses have a qualified, trained workforce, whether that's recruiting new employees or upskilling their existing employees. And so we have North Alabama Works, which covers the top 13 counties from Mississippi, Tennessee, Georgia. And then we have Central 6 Alabama Works, which is the Birmingham area, and I believe the 5 counties that surround it. And then we have East Alabama Works, obviously over the east side, West Alabama Works, which encompasses Tuscaloosa, and I can't remember how many counties over there, but and then we have Central Alabama Works, which covers Montgomery, Southeast Alabama Works, which is the Wiregrass, and then we have Southwest Alabama Works, which we call SALDC, that covers Baldwin and Mobile counties. And so those councils are all governed by business and industry. Their makeup is required to be 75% business and industry to direct their work. And so that's really to ensure that all of us underneath the Alabama Works brand are meeting the needs of business and industry, that we're marching to the beat of what business and industry are asking us to do, that we're meeting their needs, and we're not creating programs or doing things that we think should be done, but are in fact what business and industry are telling us their future jobs are going to look like, or there's a shortage of trained, skilled workers for this particular profession. Then we all work together as partners, whether it be the community college system, private training providers, or the K-12 system, to make sure that we've got programs to fill those needs or future needs. So it's not a short answer of what Alabama Works is. It's a big answer. It's hard to get a short answer, but overall it is the Alabama workforce is the workforce of Alabama.
I gotcha. Okay, Sarah, so how are companies able to plug into their regions?
So companies are able to plug in a variety of ways. I would say if you have no idea who your regional workforce council is, you can go to alabamaworks.com and you'll see the regions laid out. You'll see the beautiful map that we're all separated and who's what where. But and each of those organizations are northalabamaworks.com and so on. But your local career center, you can plug in there. You can plug in with your local community college, and there's so many ways to get involved within the regional workforce councils. I'd really like to speak just a minute to the work that they do. One of the things that I love, there's so many things that I love about the regional workforce councils, but one of the things that they do is connect K-12 to our students to business and industry. And so a great way for businesses to get connected with our regional workforce councils and dialed in with them is through Educator Workforce Academy, which takes high school teachers, CTE directors, principals, and others involved in the K-12 system, and basically gives them a workforce certification. They train them on all things workforce. They take them on tours, introduce them to local business and industry in their community, and facilitate conversations where businesses can tell teachers what they're teaching in the classroom, how that connects to what a student is going to do when they go to work. And so then teachers have real world examples, and they can say to their students, hey, I met this person at this place, and I know that they've got a job. You're great in this in the classroom. This translate well here into the workforce. It's an incredible program. Most of our regions, it's 6 sessions. So, but they earn a continuing education credit that they're required to get anyway. So it's twofold there. Another is our Worlds of Work that is done throughout the state, where our regional workforce councils bring students out to participate in a hands-on booth activity with a business. Businesses have to get creative. They can't sit at their booth with a brochure and say, here you go, we're company X. This is what we do. Come work for us one day. No, it has to be something fun and hands-on. In West Alabama, one of the neatest things, there's several, but one neat thing to me is West Rock comes out and they have the entire paper process, like from tree to cardboard box. And I mean, it's micro-sized, obviously, but students can go through that process of taking it from pulp to, okay, this is how we got to cardboard. And there's so many different industries out there, but it's just a fun day. But there are kids all over the state that have had that experience in 8th or 9th grade that then it changes because they never saw mom or dad do that. They just had, mom and dad have these 2 jobs. There's so many other jobs out there. And so a great part of that work is connecting and showing, our director, Jindy Prutzman in Central Alabama, she says that all the time, you cannot be what you cannot see. And so oftentimes we only see what, our immediate family or our friends' parents do. And so events like that and workforce tours, they're doing a student workforce academy down in Southeast Alabama, and just exposing not just teachers and educators, but our students as well to what those possibilities are, and getting businesses. That's another connection point, is our regional councils are also actively involved with our career tech centers around the state. And so that's an added layer, is the regional councils can say to a business, hey, this career tech program, they really need some business participation. And so they're an added layer of resources to our education system. Businesses are out running a business. They don't have time to hey, can I come talk to your students?
Right.
And it's not that easy. You've got to figure out who the right teacher is. That's a rabbit hole. And so our regional workforce councils are that, and they're that connector, and not just at the K-12 level, but also helping our community colleges and those instructors to have those relationships. And it really just makes it stronger because we bounce back and forth off of each other. So there's a lot of opportunities. Of course, job fairs and things like that are your known ways to get involved, but definitely with the education system is a really cool piece that we're doing with our regional workforce councils.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, Sarah, having workforce training, so ATN does workforce training, the community colleges do workforce training, that the Alabama Works area connects all of them together. Why do you think it's so important for a cohesive communication between all of the partners?
I would say it makes the businesses so much more successful. We hear all the time is money. If a business if they call one of us and we don't have what they need and we don't turn around and connect them to the partner that does have what they need, then we've cost them money. And so it's so important it's a pet peeve of mine if I find out that somebody wasn't communicating with somebody else, because it's the easiest way for us to help our businesses is just by doing a handoff and having those relationships. And that's been, it's been fun for me to develop relationships with ATN and with our college, our other college partners. But I mean, that is the backbone of all of this, I feel like, within the workforce system and Alabama Works brand. Is just that our regional workforce councils have worked even harder to create those relationships to ensure that cohesive communication that I can't tell you how many times I've been in a meeting and they're like, hey, I'm your one stop. I'll connect you to the next person. But it's not just our regional workforce council saying that. It's our community college partners. It's ATN, because the ATN project manager knows me or knows who the regional workforce council is. is in that region and says, hey, I'm going to make a phone call for you. And it's, it's the college workforce dean that does that to the career center. And it's just, I laugh sometimes. In the beginning, it seemed like we were in a whole bunch of meetings, but all those meetings facilitated those relationships that now as partners, we know who to call. And so our businesses, there used to be a red book that you would just hand a business and say, here's your resources. Now it's a phone call. It's a, hey, I'm going to have so-and-so call you. I'm going to have, Tawana with apprenticeship give you a phone call because she's who you need to talk to next. And I'm not putting that on the business to make that phone call. They've got a business to run.
That's true. That's a great point.
So tell us, why is workforce such an important component to the healthiness of our industry sectors?
I would say our industry sectors can't be successful without a strong workforce. That's one of our crucial needs is workforce. And when you have a workforce that is sickly, is not showing up to work on time or staying the whole time, again, that's costing money to the business. And so it's so vital that our workforce our people have what they need. And so we have really gotten into a people business of looking at what are people's issues, why are people not showing up to work on time, or if they're having to leave early, why are they having to leave early, and look at those causes and drill down into that, because you can't make your products if you don't have people there to run the line. We've gotten to such an automated process, but even automation requires people, and a more highly skilled individual, but still none of our businesses can be successful without their people. And so just ensuring that we've got the people that we need, that we've got a qualified workforce, this highly skilled workforce, the further into automation that we get is so vital.
So if a company is looking to do workforce training, and let's say they are just kind of tight on funding when it comes to that area, are there ways that they can offset cost?
There are so many ways that they can offset cost. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's often why I get brought in, is because I know not where all the money is, but I know where a lot of the money is.
Show me the money.
Yes, that's me. That's oftentimes ATM project managers will call and they'll say, hey, I need you to come with me. And then they introduce me as, hey, this is Sarah with the money.
Yeah.
I don't actually have
with the money.
Yes. I don't actually have money. I just know who does have money and how we get it. And so there's several pots of funding out there. Sometimes it blows my mind how much money is out there for workforce training. It's truly wild. For our companies, there's 2 pots of federal dollars right now to train incumbent workers. And that will reimburse a company for training their existing employees. So whether it's a training with ATN or something else that's been developed with your local college, there's a reimbursement process for that. And those 2 grants will reimburse 100% of what the company has paid to train their employees. And so that's a huge, huge opportunity right now. One of those is AWSP, which is the Alabama Workforce Stabilization Project. It is available through December 30th of this year, as far as training has to be completed through that. I like to say it has no cap. It has a $50,000 cap per application, and with that kind of time frame, that's a lot of training to get done in a short amount of time. And, it's difficult for companies because it's hard sometimes to pull your employees off the line to go through training, but it's so beneficial to your organization when you do that. And so it's a lengthy paperwork process because it's federal dollars, but I've been through it a lot of times and happy to help. And my counterparts around the state, that's our job, is we walk companies through what that process is and connect them. And then there's another federal grant that it has a cap of $30,000 per project, and then it has a lifetime cap of $60,000 per project. And that's, again, federal dollars. But it's just, there's so much opportunity out there because our state has put such a big emphasis. Obviously, our federal government has too, but then at the state level, the community college system also has funding that's available for companies who are using the community college system or ATN for their training. And so it's an untapped resource that we've had so many different grant opportunities out there for companies that it's almost like some have gone underutilized because there's been like, well, which do I use? Okay, let's use the one that's going to go away and then we'll move on to the next one. But it really shows companies that are hesitant to see, hey, I need to set aside this much money. Hey, you can get this kind of return. And then also they see what kind of quality training that they're getting in Alabama without having to seek that outside, and that customized training that also comes on site. So you're not having to send people out for that. But there's a substantial amount of training. So I would say contact your Regional Workforce Council Liaison if you have questions on that.
Okay. Why don't you tell us, I know you've got to have a story that is just like a huge check mark. Like that was a great success of where you saw collaboration of multiple workforce development partners throughout the state, how everyone was very cohesive and working together to really help a company in a situation or pull out of a situation or do you have one of those stories?
I have a few of those.
Okay.
There's quite a few. I'm gonna kind of start with a big one, and then it's hard for me to just tell one. And they all seem to kind of ripple. When you help one company, then word gets out and it helps another. So AIDT that helps train companies that are new or expanding to Alabama. And so our automotive manufacturers like Mercedes, Honda, Hyundai, all are active AIDT projects, which means that AIDT does their pre-employment training, but they also will do some of their maintenance training and maintenance assessments and things like that. But they are a problem solver. Well, with Mercedes, we were seeing a problem of maintaining the workforce. We were seeing a lot of churn. We were seeing major issues. And so AIDT is bringing in steadily new employees. We're having issues with them staying. So in partnership with West Alabama Works, they met with Mercedes and their suppliers to talk through what those issues were. West Alabama Works, our regional workforce councils, our resources are our partners. AIDT is already a partner, but as a community, the Regional Workforce Council was really that community partner of looking at talking with, even we had staffing agencies involved, talking with them, what are our issues, drilling down to what those causes were. And so bringing together partners to fill those workforce gaps and solving staffing issues through that, and then looking at long-term solutions. And through that partnership that started there and being a vital process, they created the Modern Manufacturing Program in the Brookwood Career Technical Center. And that program teaches high schoolers, Career Tech program, high school students, how to be a manufacturing production worker. But not just an entry-level production worker, which is an option, but it creates a pathway for those students of, hey, if you want to be done with school and never go back again, here's a great paying job for you out the gate. But if you want to work for a little bit and then go to school, here's another option. Or if you want to go straight to school, here's another path. But all those pathways are at home. There's great opportunity here. And so that has really seen a lot of success of high schoolers going straight to work, but then we've also seen them go into 4-year apprenticeship programs. And so we've seen the short game and the long game played there. And then that program has been so successful in West Alabama that our legislatures have expanded that program statewide. And so our other regional workforce councils in North Alabama, Central 6, Central Alabama, and East all have created programs around Mazda, Toyota, Honda, and Hyundai to make sure that we're doing the same thing, that we're educating our high schoolers. Well, take then a few years down the road, and Macon County is out, their economic developer is working a project, and they land a project called Samkey, a company called Samkey. Well, part of their recruitment process is making sure that they're recruiting locally. Well, in Macon County, we already have a modern manufacturing program set up there in that rural county that is graduating seniors with manufacturing experience. So you had the workforce built even, and that program was there because that's not far down the road from Hyundai, so it's commutable, but there's still manufacturing there. But then as they land a big economic development project, the modern manufacturing program that launched from over in West Alabama has now helped supply the workforce in rural Central Alabama for that company that's coming.
See, that's when you know it works really well together.
Yes.
And that we all are working to
all in this together.
Yes.
High School Musical for you millennials out there.
I'm here for it.
So AIDT, you're part of the liaison between the Alabama Works and AIDT. And AIDT does, so in my previous role, I was economic developer, and they're truly instrumental in that. And so you've got the K-12 system, and you have us plugging in with WOW, you have the community college, and you have the non-credit hours that they're doing there with the Innovation Center and different programs to that. But AIDT also has the robotics, maritime, and construction throughout the state. Birmingham's construction, robotics is the Decatur area, and then maritime, of course, is in Mobile. How are those projects working where companies can use those? Because again, it's about us knowing all those resources and how companies can really benefit from what we offer.
Absolutely. And so that's one thing that a lot of companies don't realize is that those facilities are not just available to active AIDT projects, meaning companies who are new or expanding. Any of those facilities can be utilized by any Alabama business. And so the training that's at those facilities is provided at no cost to Alabama businesses. The catch is that you have to go to AIDT.org, click on that facility that you're looking for, RTP.org or Maritime Center or whichever, and register as an Alabama company. Create a profile, create an account, and look at the schedule. And then you as the organization, as the company, have to pay for your employees. You have to pay for their travel and whatnot for them to go to those facilities. But it's incredible training that to be provided at no cost. I've seen quotes from private training companies for companies that were in the tens of thousands when you're talking about having to pay a trainer to come into your facility, pay for their expenses, pay for the training. It gets really high. But to be able to send, even 1 to 2 employees at a time, then you're not having that big loss off your floor. And it's, like I said, an incredible value of just having to pay travel for your staff, and it's in state.
And I think that's one of the valuable things. That's why we wanted to bring you on and talk about the value that you bring to the table, because in those conversations, from the beginning to the end, you have the ability to plug a company into whatever resource they might need, whether it's ATN or is it an AIDT project, or do they need to work together because you need both entities to work, or is this a more long-range project where you need a community college to plug in? So can you tell us kind of what, because you've hit on it a couple of times, but where would you get called in? Not necessarily our executive directors at Alabama Works throughout the state, but like where would they call Sarah Mills Carter and have her come into the room? Besides for the money.
Yes. Besides for that's the most popular reason I get called into the room. It can be in the initial conversation. It is me or my team will travel alongside with our director to company meetings. It's oftentimes at the second or third meeting of that, there's that initial, the director, whoever it is, goes out and meets with the company and kind of talks through their needs. And then I'll come in and do an initial, really just like a needs assessment. But it's not anything formal at all. It's just a conversation and a tour. And but I would say that second or third contact, even a lot of times it may be further down the road of, okay, this company needs this training. And then I'm not the expert on, I know a little bit about a lot of things, money obviously, but the training of just knowing who my partners are. And so they may tell a director, and our directors are very knowledgeable, but that's as a liaison, to have those relationships of, okay, well, I know that ATN offers this. I can't train you on the training. I can tell you just enough about it to point you in the right direction. And so that's where I connect, is on that. And then it's a second conversation for me. Usually I like to come back with the college or the ATN project manager and say, okay, this was kind of how our first conversation went. This is kind of what they're looking to do. And then I listen in on those conversations just to try to learn a little bit more. But sometimes I'm the first conversation. It just depends on, there's different, my boss, Ed Castile, likes to say there's many exits on the workforce highway. And so I get on and off, at many different exits. So there's not one, and that's workforce. There's not one right answer. The answer's never the same for two companies, hardly. I mean, because it's very and that's one thing I've heard. My friend Amy Arnett with Coca-Cola tells me that no other state does it like Alabama, that we all work together, we all talk to each other, and we work to meet the needs of companies. And I think that customization, that continuity of care almost, of making sure that our businesses, our customers, are cared for.
Yes. So my very first time I met Sarah Paige was in a company in Chilton County, and we had been working to help them. They were a logistics company, and they were struggling with certain hiring of certain types. And then more importantly, they saw the writing on the wall that there was going to be a huge gap in a very strong piece of their workforce. And so Sarah came in with Jindy and a couple of other key people from Chilton County, and we sat down and worked through the plan. And in that plan, she, mentioned, now I'm not working for ATN at the time. I'm working in my other job, but she mentions ATN. She mentions Chilton County. She mentions, I guess it had been Jeff State. Yeah. Jeff State Community College. She mentions the fact that we can use these different programs to help facilitate both the current need that was needing to be addressed at the moment and to help them come up with a future need to fill the source. And I think that's the whole goal of what you're here to do, is to make sure immediate needs are answered, but then we build pathways like the WOW.
Yes.
And so a company that's like, oh, they're hearing this and they're in the fall. Most of them are in October and November.
I think we have one or two that are in March or February.
Okay. But they can get in touch with their local.
Yes, with their Regional Workforce Council to get involved in those. And that's so important for companies to realize, is even if you don't have many hiring needs right now, is get out there and be seen for your future hiring needs. Yes.
Being proactive. Anyway, thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us, taking time out of your day and coming to talk to us. Until next time, guys, we will see you later.